When starting a sketch, there are a couple of really important things to try and remember. The first thing is don't press too hard with your pencil. Can you see the marks I'm making on my page are really faint, quite light marks? As you will see this drawing develop, what I will then start to do later on is to add in some harder marks by pressing down on my pencil a little bit harder to make those edges and those lines a little bit more defined. So what I'm doing at the moment is I've just followed the steps all the way through from the numbers across the top of the page, and I'm just putting those details in order. So now I'm getting to the stage where I'm starting to put each of those darker lines, and what you'll start to notice without using my rubber is that those beginning lines, those faint lines are starting to disappear, and eventually you won't really see them very much. So it's really important when you're starting your drawing, just use a really, really, really faint amount of pressure. Don't press too hard on your paper. One thing you can do to test to see if you're using the right amount of pressure is place your pencil on the back of your hand and just close your eyes and see how hard you have to press to be able to feel that tickle of your pencil on the back of your hand. And that is plenty of pressure. That's the same amount of pressure that you will need to use to make that mark on your page. So let's have a little practice with your pencil on the back of your hand. And then when you've got that amount of pressure, that's how hard you should be pressing down with your pencil at the beginning of your sketching stage. Okay, so now we know a little bit about the amount of pressure that you need to be applying. You can start to follow in this leopard sketch how I'm looking at each of the steps one by one. So this is my step one, my picture one, and now I'm just moving on to step two. So each time I'm looking at my instructions and I'm just adding those extra bits of detail in. Now this method is that the red is the beginning stage, and then each time you see a little bit of the black added, that's the bit that you need to be drawing next. So where the legs started off as just simple sort of stick legs, I'm now going back and I'm looking really closely and I'm adding a bit more detail to turn those into more realistic looking legs. So as you can see, I'm just adding the tail on now. So I'm trying to make it more three-dimensional by having the top and the bottom to the tail. I haven't used my rubber yet, but the marks that I'm making are still quite sketchy. I'm not putting a exact defined mark down. They're sort of a little bit wispy. That's how I'm trying to work out to get the right shape. I will have a go at removing, here we are, some of those sort of beginning fainter marks now, because I'm about to add all of the detail on to make this leopard look very spotty, and I don't want those marks to detract from that. But because they were really faint, they're very easy to remove, and you might not even really see them if you've done them really faintly on yours. So here we have my two finished African animal sketches. Now, you don't have to do all of them. I've put a different selection, like I said earlier on, that you can just choose the ones that you think you would like to have a go at doing. Some of them are probably a little bit more difficult. I'd say the zebra one and the giraffe one might be a bit trickier, but have a look at the different ones and decide which ones you'd like to have a go at doing. I'd love to see your finished pictures.